I love cinnamon rolls, especially around the holidays. I think you're going to love this really easy, cleaned up chai spice cinnamon roll recipe. So I've got my flour swap, granular sugar swap, Himalayan salt, some baking soda, and I have a little bit of activated dry yeast. Yeast is totally optional. Now we're going to mix our dry ingredients well in a bowl. Now yeast isn't going to work with Detox Desserts flour swap. But we're going to get all the rise, just like a normal cinnamon roll, out of our baking soda. The yeast is just going to add the nice yeasty flavor that we all love with a good cinnamon roll. Next, I've got 1/3 cup of well-stirred room temperature butter swap. Remember, if you have trouble stirring your butter swap, put the entire jar in a blender, blend for a few seconds. Next, we have 3 egg swaps. Remember to reconstitute your egg swap with really hot water. Now we're just going to mix our wet and dry ingredients until we have a nice smooth bread-like batter. And then we're going to let that dough rest for about 5 minutes while the psyllium husk in the flour opens up, absorbs all that moisture, and softens. Now I'm going to get in there with clean hands. I'm using the grain-free swap in this first demonstration. This is going to give us our keto, paleo cinnamon rolls. And remember, cinnamon rolls is essentially a bread type recipe. So it's normal for the dough to be a little more dry and crumbly. And especially when you're working with the grain-free flour swap, this is a normal consistency. So just like you would need bread dough with your hands, you're going to get in here and knead the wet and dry ingredients together and make sure there's no lumps and allow that fiber to absorb the rest of the moisture. Okay, this looks good. We'll set this aside for about 5 minutes. We'll give it one more knead and then we'll press it out into a big rectangle. I want to quickly show you the difference between how the dough for the grain-free and whole grain flour swap differ. So we have the whole grain here. It's a lot more sticky, a little more wet. And this is also going to rest for a good 5 minutes to allow the rest of the moisture to absorb. And we'll start pressing out our cinnamon rolls. We're going to prep our cinnamon sugar topping that we're going to smear on our dough by adding our butter swap, a little granular sugar swap, and cinnamon to a small bowl. Mix it together. We want a nice spreadable consistency here. So I have a little hot water sitting next to us, and we're just going to add just a little bit of hot water. So we can actually just kind of take a spoon and smear it over our dough once we press it flat. This consistency for our topping looks great. Should smear nice. Okay, I'm going to transfer, I'm working with the grain-free dough first. I'm going to transfer it on a piece of parchment paper. The parchment's going to make it a lot easier for us to roll once we get it pressed out. And I'm going to go ahead and press this out into a nice big rectangle. Remember, the grain-free dough is always a little harder to work with. Do not worry, they are going to turn out delicious and still look beautiful. We just have to do a little more work in this step to make it work. So we'll go ahead, just a nice big triangle, press it out, take your time here, and then we'll smear on our topping and roll it up. Okay, I've got my rectangle. It's about 1/4 of an inch thick, maybe a little thinner than that. And let's go ahead and smear on our cinnamon sugar topping. We're going to spread this nice and evenly. Finally, we're going to use our parchment paper to very gently roll this up. Perfect. We're gonna oil our pie dish here. Make sure it is well oiled. We don't want them to get sticky. And then let's cut our cinnamon rolls into 10 equal slices. And now we'll just go ahead and arrange these in our pie dish. Oh, they look so good. So this is the grain-free, and this will be our keto paleo version cinnamon rolls, the lowest carb. Perfect. Now I'm just gonna kind of press these together, press them down. They're gonna expand as they bake, but they won't spread a ton. So I'm just gonna press them gently into my pan for just nice, even, perfect baking. Okay, we'll cover it with foil and bake. Covering these with foil is really important to keep them nice and moist as they bake. So I'm really gonna make sure, press it down so all this steam can remain within the pie dish. Okay, 350-degree oven for about 35 minutes. So just a quick tip when you're pressing out the whole grain dough, it is quite sticky. So I just like to use wet hands to make this process so much easier. Again, we'll just do our nice big triangle. We'll spread our topping on, roll them up, and bake just like the grain-free at 350 degrees for about 35 minutes. I made this cinnamon sugar topping just a little bit thinner. It was actually easier to spread. So just wanted to show you the consistency of this one. This is our whole grain rolls. Here are our whole grain chai spice cinnamon rolls. And I'm just gently pressing them down so it's nice and even in the baking dish. And I'm going to top with foil, bake at 350 for about 35 minutes. Now, of course, no cinnamon roll is complete without a nice creamy frosting. So I've got all of our chai spices in here as well as 1 cup of powdered sugar swap. And I'm gonna mix these well. I'll add 1/4 cup of well-stirred room temperature drippy butter swap. I'm gonna do a couple pinches of some fine sea salt. About 2 tablespoons of pure vanilla extract. And you can taper this depending on your love for vanilla. Now we're gonna add hot water just a little bit at a time, stir, and get a nice smooth consistency that we can just drizzle on our warm cinnamon rolls. Oh, this is looking just perfect. So when my cinnamon rolls are done baking, I'm going to take them out of the oven, put them on a wire cooling rack, and I'm just gonna vent the foil a little bit to let the steam escape, but without uncovering them because we wanna keep that moisture locked in. Then while those still warm, we'll go ahead and put our glaze all over those decadent rolls. Perfect. Here we have our grain-free chai spice cinnamon rolls. These are going to be the lowest carb, paleo, and keto version. And next we have our whole grain version. This will have a few extra slowly digesting healthy carbs, a high fiber, gluten-free, chai spiced cinnamon roll. Oh my gosh, it looks so good. Who knew a clean, healthy cinnamon roll could taste so good? Better than the real thing.